Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Bobby Puckett, the AFW2 Community Programs Manager. The mission of community programs is to connect all of you with the great organizations across the country so that you can get connected with these organizations in your neighborhood. So you can start participating in their events, you can reach out to them for resources, and you guys have assistance whenever you might need it. Today, we are joined by Janet Patton with Achilles International. Janet, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. It's so nice to see you. It's almost like we're hanging out.
I know, right? Welcome to the Zoom world, right?
Wait, I have to show you. This is my new favorite present.
I don't know how many times I've had to say that.
Right?
Yeah. So Janet, can you tell us a little about yourself and how you became involved in Achilles?
Sure. I went to college with a dear friend of mine who ended up singing with the USO after we graduated from American University back in the early 2000s. And I had a performing background, so the goal was always to move to New York City. And that happens to be where the One Achilles office is. And my brother was in the military. I did some work with children in the past. So when I moved to New York and I had this friend who ended up volunteering with Achilles, it just was such a natural fit. It kind of like checked all those boxes of things that I am passionate about. Anyone who has served, I'm always in awe of. People with disabilities in general, they have such resilience and such passion, and it's like infectious to be around their can-do attitudes. So back in 2007, I started out part-time with Achilles, and then I went full-time in 2010, and I've been the director of the Achilles Freedom Team since 2000, mid 2013.
It sounds pretty awesome. So how did Achilles get started, and what is their mission?
Sure. Achilles was started back in the very early 80s. Our founder, Dick Traum, he's a legend. He was the first amputee. He's a single above the knee amputee, first amputee to ever run a marathon on a prosthetic limb. And he ran the New York City Marathon in 1976. And he kind of thought, well, this did a lot for me in my life. So surely there are other people with disabling challenges that if they only got together with a group, were held accountable, trained together, and set a goal of doing a marathon, this could help them too. And it could also help the world and the community, seeing everyone right along alongside each other, pounding that safe pavement together. So he started Achilles, small group in Central Park, working out, training, setting goals of doing some road races. And it's totally snowballed from there. We have chapters all over the world. We have a lot of US chapters, which we'll get to because that would be for our crew here. We'd love for anyone to come out and be involved that way. And we really the mission is to empower people with disabilities to unleash the athlete within and to promote social connection and just those breaking of barriers to have a wild sense of inclusion among our community. So yeah.
Absolutely. I know during my recovery, trying to do the research to figure out, what to do with the rest of my life, I definitely stumbled across Traum's story, and it was definitely inspiring. So, he's definitely a legend, and you guys are doing great things. Can you tell us a bit about the different types of programs that you guys have at Achilles?
Yes. So we have basically a chapter model. That's mostly what we offer for our adults. We do have Achilles Kids, but that's separate. So if anyone's interested in that, they can always check out our website or email me later. But for our adults, we have chapters all around the world, as I said, and particularly in the United States, they meet once or twice a week. They gather, people are in push-in racing chairs, hand cycles, runners, what we call ambulatory athletes, and they usually, there's a social aspect to that, but definitely training for some sort of race to participate in. For the Achilles Freedom Team, what it means to be a member of that is anyone who has served in our armed forces and is now living with a permanent disability. So that started in 2004. We knew that this model with Achilles, with athletes with disabilities in general, really worked to, make their life flourish in new ways. And so focusing on a team specifically for vets made so much sense because veterans are athletes by nature and, people who set goals on the regular. And with the Freedom Team, we kind of directed everyone into what we call the Marathon Tour. And that is a series of 9 to 11 marathon weekends a year. And if you're a member of the Freedom Team, you simply get more perks. sponsorship levels and that team kind of feeling. But in addition to that, where this COVID year has been so interesting in making us think outside the box. Sometimes we were just so narrow-minded in a way, looking at that race calendar and just having that be our thing. And now that we've had a little space away from that, we're doing a lot of virtual programming and using our networks to bring in experts that we might know that might help enrich each other's lives, focusing on our community, specifically people with disabilities. We're going to keep a lot of that. And we're always going to keep that marathon tour. So if someone wants to do the New York City Marathon, we got you. If someone wants to do the Boston Marathon and you qualify, we got you. But we also are really interested in looking at those chapters and bringing more people into that community on a more regular basis. Because again, the marathon tour, that's only like 9 to 11 times a year. How great would it be if we could expand those chapters and really give our veterans more of a home to work out together and be part of a group more on the regular. So we're focusing a little more on that in the future, which is exciting.
Absolutely. I know the marathon tour is how I found Achilles, and you guys definitely do it right. It was when I first got into racing hand cycles, and you guys, you really check all the boxes. You help everyone get set up and make sure everyone's safe and has good equipment and all that. So you guys definitely help everyone get into that kind of competitive side if that's what they want to go. So it's an awesome program.
Thank you.
So you mentioned the virtual programming. Can you mention a little bit more about that and go into detail what those programming looks like and those kind of events?
Sure. So a unique kind of thing with Achilles is that we're not a specific veteran service organization. We serve all people who have a disability, be active. And in that, we've kind of realized this little bit of magic where vets have such a service element ingrained in them. So this is just one example of a virtual concept that we just conquered in the last few months. I created what we call the AFT TAK virtual training camp, and that's Achilles Freedom Team, Team Achilles Kids virtual training camp. And we focused on a body, mind, soul challenge where every day, if they can check off and get points, and we put them on 2 teams, stars, team stripes, and whichever team at the end kind of won. We had a series of fun organized Zooms and just hangouts. And it was so cool because a lot of our kids, they don't get to meet wounded vets like we serve. And our vets, they're not always around children with disabilities. The way that our Achilles group kind of just the way the cookie crumbled, a lot of our Team Achilles kids here in New York City, they have developmental delays and cognitive disabilities, which is very different from our adults, but they're filled with such charm and such beautiful perspective. So that really enriched our freedom teamers. And then, like I said, the kids have just these new heroes. And without this Achilles community, none of that would ever come together. But we were able to kind of tap into that in this virtual space. So we want more of that. Like, I know that you and I were on a trip before in Colombia. We've got an amazing Achilles chapter in Bogota and Medellin, Colombia. How cool to have those crossovers and to continue to connect in these bigger ways within the athletes with disabilities community. And the virtual world allows that to happen a little more easily. So we have started to provide some of those opportunities, and we're looking to do that even more. And of course, with getting back together in person, I want these freedom teamers and these kids to do our Hope and Possibility signature 4-miler in Central Park together one day. Like, that would be an ultimate goal. But also, so that's just virtual programming excitement there, but just some regular stuff. Like tomorrow night, we've got a workshop on resilience, and we're working with with our presenting sponsor from the Freedom Team, Cigna. They're giving an expert doctor on resilience. We have 2 Freedom Teamers speaking about their experiences, and that's something for everyone to just log into and maybe be inspired. We're doing a family-friendly cooking class in 2 weeks. Since January, we've really focused on a whole person health approach. We're so used to that like physical activity, but the virtual space has kind of allowed us to focus on our mental health a little more directly. So in January, February, March, we had workshops on confidence building and strength and energy and what that means. And we're going to continue more of ways to kind of share each other's stories, share the, like I said, the experts that we might have access to through our sponsors, and really share our athletes' stories, because there's power in what the athletes with disabilities community, what they go through is like the best inspiration of life. So I think that there's a cool thing that could happen there for confidence building within the athlete, and to feel like serving again, like I'm helping out, I'm just not being helped. I know that I hear that from my friends all the time. They don't want all the help all the time. But
Right.
that platform in this virtual world to say, like, here, I'm going to help you all out. We're kind of tapping into that. It's so interesting how COVID derailed everything, and it sucked, but it also is like expanding us in the way that we approach stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm rambling now. Sorry, Bobby.
I love those ideas. So, connecting the soldiers, the warriors with the children, that's a beautiful idea, because it gives the children someone to look up to. Hey, they have the same injury or challenges that I have, and look what they're doing. I love that idea. And then the AFW2, we have a resilience and wellness program. So that's strictly focused on, same things that you're talking about, is, helping people be resilient during times of challenge. And the ambassador program here at AFW2, it's exactly the same thing, talking about your story and how it might be able to, help or inspire someone else. So I love your ideas. Those are great ideas. So I'm sure the marathons and racing and all of that, I'm sure it's really expensive. What does it cost a warrior to participate in one of your events?
Yeah, depending on the city and depending on the race and the sponsorship level that we are in, it's usually around 2,000 an athlete. We really encourage caregivers and family members to join when possible. So that's an additional cost. It's funny that dealing with sponsorship and stuff, we're very, very grateful and lucky to have some really steadfast sponsors who just see it and they get it, and they make it really possible for us to do these things.
Absolutely.
But it's not very enticing to pay for a hotel room or to pay for a meal, but those things have to happen. You're not going to be able to do the marathon unless you get there and unless you have somewhere to sleep. And those costs are usually pretty big. It's funny because we're always in the conversation like, oh, is there someone we could meet from a hotel chain? And you'd think that those opportunities would be there, but really not. A lot of hotels are franchised, and especially now with COVID, that industry is hurting. So that's a big part of the cost with the marathon tour, is just the nuts and bolts of existing and getting there and staying there safely. Race entry fees, a lot of times I think people think, oh yeah, you're a great group, they just give you the race organizers give you the fee, give you the entry, right? No, that's not the case. We have to pay for that slot just like everybody else. And equipment. Most vets are able to get adaptive equipment through the VA. We also have a fleet of hand cycles that if people need, they can borrow from us. So there is a bit of an equipment cost for our organization. And yeah, just all the things that go into making that a smooth, nice experience. All of that costs money, especially when you're traveling with a group. It's one thing if you've got a hub or a home base or a physical camp that everyone comes to. We don't have that. We're very much like a traveling team. So with that, there's just cost.
Sure. So are those costs taken care of by Achilles, or is that cost pushed onto the warrior and participant?
It's case by case, depending on what sponsorship we have for a particular event. Our goal is to have everything covered soup to nuts. So that would be travel, lodging, meals, experiences within the city together, race entry fees, race day logistics, everything from a bus that we travel together, uniforms, all that kind of stuff. We want to try to cover it all. There are though cases where we'll say, if you can get there, we'll take care of the rest.
Absolutely.
So it's a little case by case.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That, a lot of times if you can get there, everything else is taken care of. And that's awesome because all these places are in amazing locations, right? So that's a pretty awesome opportunity. So you mentioned the chapters earlier. So where do you have chapters across the United States? How do people get
I
involved in
have my
those?
list pulled up because there are so many, which is so great. We have chapters in Arizona, a few locations, Phoenix and Tucson, chapters in Arkansas, California, Colorado, which is where you guys are. I know you're not physically in Colorado, but I know that's a big Air Force now, Air Force state. Connecticut, Illinois, Kansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, Nevada, North Carolina, New Jersey, New York is our hub. Pennsylvania, that's in Philly. Tennessee, that's a Nashville chapter. They're big and great and fun. Texas, we have Houston chapter and starting, I think, a Dallas chapter. Utah and Salt Lake, Washington, D.C., and Madison, Wisconsin. All of that is on our website. The chapters are very organic. It just kind of takes someone who maybe knows some athletes with disabilities and says, hey, there's a park over here. We're going to meet every Monday at 6 p.m. and work out. That's kind of how most of our chapters have started. And they're amazing people. And we want to focus a little more on bringing the veteran community into those chapters because sometimes you just need to know that it's happening. And if you go once and you like the people, well, then you add it to your routine and who knows what can happen. You might be doing the New York City Marathon in 2 years. So those chapters are really a good resource for people to get involved.
That's great. You guys really are nationwide. That's impressive. So if someone wants to get connected with a chapter, maybe we have an athlete that is doing weekly trail rides, how do they connect with those chapters, and then how they connect with like the Freedom Team to maybe get onto the marathon tour? How does that work?
Sure. You can always check out our website. It's achillesinternational.org. And there is a section right there for chapters and it says US chapters. And then it has contact information of the head of that chapter. So that's a pretty easy way to do it. You can always just email me. Maybe we can throw my email up there, but it's J Patton, like the general, no relation, I wish. jpatton@achillesinternational.org. And we do a lot, but like a lot of nonprofits, we're small. We have a staff of like 9 and some of those are part-time. So you can, if you email me, you're going to find me and I'll tell you everything that I can be helpful and connect whoever with the right people. And hatch a plan, having a plan for something and setting a goal, even if it's just to work out, that is helpful for all of us. So we're here to do that. If anybody is interested in doing, whether just in getting active again, or maybe in doing a 5K this summer, or in doing a half marathon or a marathon, definitely reach out and we'll chat and we'll connect you with some like-minded, like-hearted people, and who knows what can happen from there.
That sounds amazing. So you guys have a lot of great things going on right now.
We're trying.
Absolutely.
We were very high touch, and now we're more going in the high tech, but we're excited to get back to that high touch stuff because it's special. It's irreplaceable. We're hopeful. We're doing a lot, but we're going to do more.
That is awesome. So we've covered a lot of things today. Have I missed anything that you feel our audience should know about Achilles and your programming?
I don't think so. Just a few little teasers. We're doing a relay up the East Coast this end of June, beginning of July. That's something that when big in-person events still are not happening, it was one way to satiate that need of our athletes to participate in that. And we're ending in Central Park I mentioned it before, we host a signature racing event called the Achilles Hope and Possibility 4-miler. And it's here in Central Park. It's the only event that we produce. All the other events, we kind of attend someone else's party, but this one we throw, and it's in Central Park. It's most likely going to happen in person on July 10th. there will be a virtual component. We had a lot of success with that last summer. So keep a lookout on ways to get involved to do a virtual 4-miler with the team. It definitely will bring you a sense of hope and what's possible and being part of a really exciting community. And just our social media pages, that's a great place to kind of see more about who we are, our vibe, what's going on. We're on Instagram, Achilles_International. And then also there's a Freedom Team page. It's just no spaces, Achilles Freedom Team. And also our Facebook page, Achilles International. But like I said, I'm easy to find. So if anyone has any questions, just search for me and email me.
Absolutely. So give us that, the website address one more time.
Sure. It's www.achillesinternational.org.
That's awesome. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed our talk with Jana today. I hope you guys reach out to her and Achilles International and get plugged in your community. It sounds like they have chapters all across the country. So there's no reason why you can't get involved in your community, right? So, so make sure you continue to follow us on AFW2 Community Programs Facebook page. That's where we put a lot of these organizations' events on there and what they have going on in their programming. So Janet, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see you, friend.
Great seeing you.